Hello everyone. DundalkTV is sitting down today with Shorty Davis to have an honest discussion about race relations in America.
Inner city, if they're already a drug environment, crime heavy environment, then the police officers, black, white, or Hispanic, it doesn't matter. They're going to approach with caution.
A lot of technical stuff going on. We have 3 people that are now on Skype on video, and we have Jack from Mississippi who is with us tonight as well, and he's on the phone. Jack, I was talking to you recently about the 2 incidents that happened in your area with a gentleman that they had hung, and then another person they had decapitated. They put that person's head on a porch, I understand. So please give us your opinion on that.
Well, like I said, Scott, they're investigating both right now as possibly having been done by the same person. And that's routine until they find differences that stand out. As I was telling one of the other gentlemen, it seems to me with these 2 happenings, and they were both up in the northern part of Mississippi, it seems to me that it's more like drug involvement. Perhaps getting rid of somebody that turned somebody into the police, or somebody that was going to testify against somebody, because that's just not the way people die.
Okay, so it might not have been. So it might not have been strictly a racial type of situation, but I know the news was playing that up. And so news stations were trying to blow it out of proportion that this was just maybe angry white people that were treating people, individuals of color in a very, the most heinous way that you could. But so you're giving a little bit different speculation on that right now.
The media, Scott, the media always tries to go with something that they think will draw the most attention because that gets their ratings up.
Definitely.
But for the most part, we don't have the old racial stigma in Mississippi that we had for so many years.
Well, thank God for. Happy to hear things are changing.
And I mean,
let me go to Derek.
It's totally unusual.
Let me go to Derek real quick and get him to chime in on this conversation.
Race relations is unfortunately it's an unfortunate reality that when people don't understand each other, when they don't understand each other and their difference, there's going to be some conflict, unfortunately. But once people get to understand each other, you know, most of the time people understand each other, and the conflict, it dissolves. But like the other gentleman was saying, the media likes to hype things up. The media is going to always hype things up to get the high ratings, to get the attention. You know, it's all about the dollar signs with the media. So they're always going to turn things out of proportion and get their ratings up and try to make money off of a story. But in regards to race relations, like I said, when people are different and don't understand each other, you're going to have trouble.
Okay, I have a person that feels that no one has the choice of their color or their skin, and exactly. No one should judge anyone by the color of their skin, and we should all judge each other by the way that one another acts. And so I find this case to be despicable, and it was very upset about the situation that happened in North Carolina with the fellow walking into the church and sitting down with the church members and those people. That was that was absolutely horrible as well. Okay, now I have Derek. We're working with him actually on the video on the screen, and also he's going to be talking on the phone. So we were having to fix the audio issue that way. So go ahead, Derek.
So what happens is bad people get rid of bad people. Bad people kill other bad people.
Yep.
So when you have these incidents that take place, it's an unfortunate part of the way nature works. When you're in that kind of environment, that drug-related environment.
let me toss it back to Jack because Jack has a very early appointment tomorrow, and so Jack, would you like to share anything else before you go?
Well, like I said, they're still investigating. They can't even say right now whether it's a drug-related crime, a hate crime. So everything is still in a state of flux. But what happened was despicable and should not happen to anyone, regardless of race, creed, color, religion, you name it.
Well, that's why I wanted to talk about it, because it needed to be talked about, because I saw the media running with that and taking it in a really bad direction. So I couldn't agree with you more on that, Jack. Anything else?
Well, I think I'm like everybody else in Mississippi. We despise what happened, and we're very anxious to find out who did it so that they can be adequately punished if they're tried and found guilty. Because unfortunately, the way the media puts their slant on it, it gives the entire state a black eye because of the actions of one, maybe two people. And that's
it
not
takes
right.
race relations not only in Mississippi back a whole, but then if the media winds up pushing that narrative that, we've gone back 50, 60 years, then, it's just messing our country up. And unfortunately, there are people out there that use that as a tool. And what a shame for
the majority of them are the media.
Yeah, they make money off of it. It's a big money maker. That's how it is.
So, okay, well, Jack, thank you very much for joining us, and we're gonna have you back again. You're a very wise man, and we appreciate you giving your input.
Well, I'm glad to be able to help, Scott. Have a nice evening now.
Thank you.
To the rest of the gentlemen. Bye-bye.
Okay, so we'll go back to Derek right now.
If I get pulled over on the road for having a tail light out, okay, I comply. I pull over to the side of the road. They come to my window. I walk my window down. They ask me for my license and registration. I just comply. Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Officer. Okay? In hand of my license and registration, I will not have any problem. However, it's a different predicament. They pull me over. They come to the window, and automatically I have an attitude. Hey, man, what you pulled me over for? I didn't do nothing. Searching up your license and registration. No. Why can't you see my license and registration? What? I'm not complying. So that obviously that frustrates the police officers. There's no police officers out there unless there's some kind of vigilante renegade cop that's just creating problems for you.
Well, I
don't believe in that.
I start out by saying, "How can I help you, officer?" I think that starts out the conversation the best that it can. Now let's go to Thomas. Thomas lives in Delaware now, and Thomas has just become Dundalk TV's newest reporter and cameraman. So, Thomas, what has your experience been when you lived in Baltimore, and if you had any experiences in Delaware that you'd like to share as well?
Actually, for the most part, not to toot my own horn, but I am a law-abiding. I try to be a law-abiding citizen. So whenever I'm approached by an officer, I usually say yes sir, yes ma'am, yes officer. I give them the registration license, and I would say 99% of the time, if you respect the officer, most of the time they respect you. But like Derek was saying, if you had that attitude with them, they're going to get an attitude back. That's just the nature of the job, And most of the times, from my experience, if I've been approached by an officer and I told him the truth and I was respectful, a lot of times he would either knock down the ticket, if I was speeding, he would knock it down to like 5, 10, he would knock the speeding ticket down and it'd be a lesser fine. Or sometimes I was lucky and he would just give me a warning. So I think with 99% of the officers, most of them don't want no trouble. They just want to do their jobs and go home. But there is, unfortunately, some officers that they might have had a bad day at the house with their wife, with their kids. So they might have an attitude with you, then give an attitude back, it's going to escalate. But most of the time,
some of them just plain buttheads. Let's be honest. Some of them are buttheads, and other police officers know that too. And unfortunately, they're making the whole police force look bad because they are being butt heads and treating people that way. So they're out there. There's no doubt about it. I've spoken to them. I've had them treat me a certain way. I've had a police officer tell me that he could arrest me on the spot for any reason whatsoever. And I'm like, officer, I'm not doing anything. I'm walking down the street. But he wanted to push that issue. So there are police officers that are out there like that. So luckily enough, I didn't get arrested that night, but the officer was getting in my face about stuff, and I was just walking down the street. So I thought that was really bad. So
my father gave me a real good piece of advice when I was a young kid. My father always said, don't fight the cops on the street, fight the cops in the court. So if you get a ticket and you want to argue with a cop, say yes sir, yes officer, and sign a ticket, do what you got to do. But if you want to fight an officer, my father always said, fight a cop in court.
I think that's great advice.
Always win in court.
I'm sorry. Go ahead and say it again, Derek.
I agree with Thomas. Cops do not always win in court. The initial incident, they have to write a report about what happened. When it does go to court, and the judge reads the report and has studied it, and he sees inconsistencies, a lot of the time the cops do not win that case, and the defendant is led free of all charges or whatever. And just like what Thomas is saying, you fight them in court. You upstand yourself in a situation so it doesn't get out of hand. And then you let them give you whatever ticket or citation that they're trying to issue you, and you battle them in court. Exactly. Now, what I think happens sometimes, and people, I guess this is where the problem lies, and this is where I can really explain how I feel. Cops are people, okay? So when they see somebody or they think somebody who's trying to carry them a certain way, a certain attitude, or trying to not respect their authority, they don't like when people don't respect their authority. And as soon as that happens, that's when the person comes out. The law enforcement guy or female, their personality as who they are. And that's where the problem is, because trying to decide whether you're doing the right thing as law enforcement, or you just don't like this guy, or you don't like this female the way he or she is treating you or talking to you. So when that happens, that's when it starts. Maybe like what happened with you. This guy, he must think he's big stuff. So I'm gonna let him know that I'm in charge here. And that's when the young ones get a little out of hand. And even the older, more experienced police officers, they've seen that type before, and then that's when they start pulling rank. And that's just the way I feel about it. If it gets physical, they forget all about all of your rights and your civil rights, and they really try to hurt you. And this is what happens.
Well, actually, I have, and I'll go back to, I'm pro-police. Don't get me wrong. I'm pro-good cop. I'm anti-bad cop, and I'm anti-dumb cop. I just can't help it. I am. So I have videos with women that are handcuffed, and the officers take them by their shoulder with one hand and then by the head with the other one and swing these women down to hard paved surfaces and slam their head down into it. Now, to me, that's just like taking a baseball bat to somebody's head. So I want to see, and I brought that up in the meeting that I had with the governor's office, that I want to see this, the police officers charged with attempted murder in these kind of situations. So it is. I do believe that that there's a lot of good police officers, because I'm pro-police. I'll stand up and I will stand shoulder to shoulder with them, and the right thing I will. If there's any way that I can help them, that I will. But when I know that a police officer is doing things wrong, I just don't have any respect for him. I have the utmost respect for a police officer that does their job, he or she does their job in a professional manner, and that's what we need to do, and that's what we need to have coming out of the out of the police academies is professional police, and we need to start having the PAL programs and having them work with the kids and things like that again, and being more involved with the community, because that relationship really goes a long way in helping them do their job better and making the community better overall. So for some reason or another, here locally in Baltimore County, I'm speaking of from Baltimore County because that's my experience, is that we have gotten away from that, and I've talked to other people and been at meetings where they talked about that as well, and you know, that's something that's really missing and that we need to get back to. So, but I am pro-police. I want to let everybody know that I as I said, I start out my conversation with the police officers. How can I help you, officer? That is the best way. And I like what Thomas said. I had never heard that before. Fight the police and court, and that's great advice. So Thomas, did you have anything else you wanted to share on the topics that we were talking about tonight?
Yeah. Like I said, that acting in North Carolina with that guy, you know, he murdered those people at that Bible study. That was just really heinous, despicable. And I mean, I don't like wishing bad things on people, but I really wish bad things on that kid in jail. I hope he gets justice in jail, behind the walls, behind the fence. I mean, what he did was just totally heinous crime. And unfortunately, like I said, like Derek said, with the media makes money off of commotion and confusion, and they're going to try to twist the story around because they want to get their ratings high.